where your identities clash with one another, is something that a young man by the name of Chris Jackson dealt with, and dealt with very beautifully. This was a young man who was a top NBA prospect. He's a sharpshooter. Everything looks good for a young man who makes it into the league and is a top prospect. Around that time, he decides to become Muslim. When he becomes Muslim, then all of a sudden there's a little bit of an issue because his morals and values tell him you can't be unjust to other people. On the other hand, he's standing for an anthem and a flag that, at least in his own understanding, is promoting this kind of stuff. Part of its history, it's part of its heritage, so on and so forth. So he starts to stop standing for the anthem. Fines, suspensions, all of this kind of stuff, until he reaches the final point where they say, listen, you can close your eyes when the anthem is being played. That's the furthest extent that the NBA is willing to go with you. Because of this, his whole future as a top NBA prospect, imagine the wealth, imagine the opportunities, imagine the fame, imagine the connections you would have, eventually set aside from teams. Why? Because in that moment he saw that his identity as a servant of God and his identity as an employee of the NBA is clashing with one another. So when he changed his name to Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, he saw himself more in that moment as Abdul Rauf, the servant of God, than he saw himself as an NBA player.